Shellbane Gryphon combat achievements were just released, and you know what that means. I am no longer a RuneScape Grandmaster. So, let's go ahead and re-obtain our Zuck Helm. To do Shellbane Gryphon, you do need a Gryphon's task, and luckily I stored one away a long time ago waiting for the combat achievements to come out. It actually took quite a bit of time for these combat achievements to come out. Usually they come out 1 to 2 weeks after the initial release of the boss, but it's been a lot longer than that. Now, full disclosure, I haven't done any Shellbane Gryphon beyond just doing the Troubled Tortugan's quest, so I actually don't really know how to do the boss. But I've been told that the boss is on par with the likes of Scurious, so hopefully it won't be too bad. But with that being said, the first thing we need to do is figure out our gear setup. Let's open up our bank here to sort out our gear setup. First things first, we're going to take our Slayer helmet out, and unfortunately we're going to have to disassemble this because, well, we can't wear the Zuck helm. Okay, I've geared up, and our inventory is set up as well. We're looking real goofy. There's a few interesting things about this setup beyond just wearing best melee possible, and that's having this Tortugan shield on your back. This is important because weight is a huge factor in dealing with Shellbane Gryphon. In fact, let's open up the equipment stats page here and take a look at our weight. 52 kilos, so we should be good. I believe the threshold is 40 or higher. Otherwise, you're going to take massive knockback damage. So we have that taken care of. And then we also are rocking the black mask that's still imbued. I believe the black mask actually has heavier weighting than a Slayer mask for whatever reason. Not that it's relevant to us specifically because we're already over the threshold, but if you're struggling to reach the 40 plus threshold, that is something you could consider, I suppose. According to the wiki page, the Burning Claws are going to be better than the Dragon Claws, and then I'm just filling up the rest of my inventory up with Anglers, Prayer Potions, and then of course Divine Super Combats. And we're going to be using Thralls. Speaking of which, I do need to go pick up my Book of the Dead. I forgot that. Alright, we are ready to set sail to the boss. Or actually, we don't need to set sail, because while the boss is located on the Great Conch, there is a fairy ring to the Great Conch, CJQ. Now, where exactly is the boss? Give me 1 second, because I have no idea. Alright, from the fairy ring, it's just straight north, and it's going to be this dungeon or this cave entrance right here. And there's actually an NPC here, Elder Nama, with statistics. So yeah, I wasn't lying before. Shellbane Gryphon statistics. Personal KC, 0. Personal deaths, 0. I have not been here before. And before we begin the fight, let's take a look at what we're here for. The combat achievements, obviously. Let's take a look at the specific tasks. There's going to be some freebie ones for sure, and none of these are going to be too hard because, well, it is an easy boss anyways. So, Shellbane Adept, 25 KC, okay, no problem. Dry cleaning, after clearing its corrosive spit from your armor. Okay, so we're just going to have to figure out how to do that. I think you just take off your armor if you get the spit on you. Shellbane Veteran, that's 50 KC. Perfect Shellbane. Always got to have a perfect task, obviously, along with the KCs, without taking damage. Okay, well, I'm actually going to have to learn the boss if I want to do this one. Speedrunner, 10 times within 12 minutes, 30 seconds of entering the cave. Okay, so, again, we're going to have to figure out how to do the boss for this one because we don't want to take too much damage, although wearing a Blood Fury or something would just help us. But, again, easy boss. This shouldn't be too difficult. Hopefully, you know, I'm not jinxing myself. Shellbane Survivor, 25 times without leaving. Wow, okay. You know, I actually don't know if I have a Blood Fury ready still. I might still have one with, like, barely any charges from the Grandmaster grind. So, we might dip into our brews for this one or something. Featherweight Fighter. This is the last one. 5 times without leaving while wearing gear weighing less than 40. Okay, this one seems pretty troll, but hopefully it's not too bad either. So that's 7 different combat achievements to do at Shellbane Gryphon. Without wasting any more time, let's just head in there. And we have some dialogue to go through. One of the problematic Gryphons has made its way on the island. Oh, I didn't go take the task out of storage. Well, that's anticlimactic. Be right back. Alright, we've made it in. I believe we protect melee. I'm probably not going to go for the perfect KC right away. I'm just going to feel this out. In fact, we're not even potted right now. And I just took damage. Okay, what am I supposed to do with that? I probably should have watched the guide or read the wiki or something. I think I just keep moving. Okay. Well, that was actually easily avoidable. Now I know though, but no perfect CA on this first attempt. Is that avoidable too? Okay, alright, we should be able to snag the perfect CA no problem. Not too bad at all. 33-second KC, and we got a collection log, the Gryphon Feather, a rune scimitar. I have no idea what these feathers do, so I'm gonna pick those up. Let's try to go for the perfect CA here. So I can dodge that. Okay, very nice. One more swing, and that should be the perfect CA. I don't think I messed up. Oh. Apparently not. Oh wait, no, I did get the combat achievement. I completely missed that. What? Or... I don't know. But let's keep going. So we're basically taking no damage. I'm pretty confident that I can do that 10 KC without leaving, or whatever that combat achievement is. So let's go ahead and go for that one right now. I do wish I brought Death Charge, actually. That would have been smart. I definitely over-prepared my inventory for this because I had no idea how this was going to go. But yeah, we're definitely going to be A-okay. And we should be done with these combat achievements pretty quickly. We're kind of in a weird spot here because typically you would want to be already comfortable with the boss before doing the combat achievements because, well, actually, that's the whole reason why they delay the release of combat achievements. Usually a few weeks after the initial boss release, that way people can just focus on doing the boss and learning it without worrying about combat achievements. But yeah, I never got around to doing this. When the sailing content came out, I was 100% focused on being in the open waters rather than doing this boss on the Great Conch. But yeah, things are going very smoothly right now. It shouldn't be too much of a surprise considering that this is very much intended to be an early game boss. And here we are in max gear just destroying it. I do wish I brought my Lumbridge Diary ring so that I could alch these rune simmies. I don't know how often they drop, but I mean, we already have 2 of those, so it could be a good bit of GP. Get something back, right? Because right now, all we're doing is picking up these Gryphon feathers, which I actually have no idea what they're for. Okay, I think I figured out that mechanic. We just have to be on the move. Adamant cannonballs. Okay, okay. Brought the 6KC already. I think we should be seeing another combat achievement in just 4 more KC. Let's get our thralls going again. I just had the thought to teleport out, but again, I think we're going for a couple of combat achievements at the same time here, not being the KCs and the KCs in one trip, which by the way, are going to be incredibly easy now that I know what this boss is like. I cannot stress how incredibly goofy and like the mismatched gear we have on right now with this shell and the black mask in combination with the white radiant oath plate. If you guys have found some nice fashionscape to go along with the Tortugan shell, do let me know. Let's go ahead and move the Karamja gloves out of the way so we don't accidentally teleport out of here because I do believe I have it set to a left click teleport right now, which would not be great if we accidentally teleported out just 1 KC shy of one of the combat achievements. Okay, so right there, I did take some damage. I believe on occasion it does throw out a range attack, which would be an issue if you were lower level doing this boss. We just got a long bone along with a new PB. But yeah, the occasional range attack would become an issue if you're trying to go for this perfect combat achievement, I guess. But when you're in overpowered gear, nothing to concern yourself with. And that is 10 KC. Is that another combat achievement? Indeed it is. Shellbane Speedrunner. That's right. Okay. Actually forgot about that one. Short-term memory loss because I just discussed the combat achievements not that long ago, a couple of minutes ago. What are the instance ones then? I do know there's one where I have to intentionally lower my weight and get knocked back. That one's going to require more food. And I think that's 5 in a row. I'm going to go ahead and check the combat achievements again after this KC. Combat tasks. The survivor, 25 times without leaving. Oh, okay. I think we can do that. Yeah, we're not going to need much food. And we did bring plenty of prayer potions, and we could also start flicking if it comes down to it, which I don't think it will, but yeah. Oh, perfect timing. I was just thinking about this combat achievement. So I think what we have to do is de-equip our armor. Do we have to de-equip all our armor? Like everything? Yeah, we're still getting that effect right now. Let me make sure I don't accidentally teleport out of here. Are we good? I think we're good. I don't see the thing anymore. I don't believe I got the combat achievement there. Maybe I was too slow and the thing just wore off? I don't know. I don't know. Well, let's get our ring back on. Absolutely slapping this boss with our Scythe of Vitter. We just got another PB. Okay, 23 seconds. I believe on the leaderboards or the stats page there, I did see that the world record was 9 seconds or something. I could actually see that happening, I suppose. I don't know if that's real or not. I know in the past a lot of the global high scores have been kind of glitched, so not really sure what to trust. But 9 seconds might actually be a possibility for this. Okay, while we're chipping away at the KC, because we need that regardless, I'm going to go ahead and look at how to remove the spit. An orange blob is launched, which corrodes the player's worn equipment if they do not move 1 tile away from where they stood. This causes a player to take 3 to 12 damage 6 times over the course of 32 ticks, which can be interrupted by quickly unequipping all of the player's items. Okay, well, I definitely didn't unequip everything, and because of my inventory situation, I was very slow at de-equipping. So, yeah, we'll just go ahead and try that again. I suppose let's try again on this KC. Assuming we get the special attack before we even finish it. It's not looking like that's gonna happen. Or actually, no, wait, there we go. Okay, actually, don't kill it just yet. Alright, drop some items. Gotta de-equip everything. Oh, you know, for a second, I thought my Radha's Blessing was on a one-click teleport, and I would have been so sad. Did I do it there? Dry cleaning, indeed I did. A whopping 1 point for that. It's actually a bit of a hassle. We're up to 16 KC now. Quick progress. Oh, I forgot to pick up my anglers. Alright, between KCs. Oh, jar of what? That's gotta be rare, right? 17 KC jar of feathers. Where's the collection log? That has gotta be rare. Jars are usually rare. Wow. The jar of feathers is a 1 in 2,000. Well, there goes my RNG. You know, that does feel good. Hosen is right. It's a good day to re-GM. You know, that's the only reason we're here. But we're getting some nice things along the way, I suppose. As we keep chipping away at the KC, let me take a look at the other combat achievements. So there is Shellbane Survivor, which is 25 KC without leaving, and we're just 7 KC away from that right now. Should be able to get that one, no issues. That's also going to get us Shellbane Adept at the same time, which is just 25 KC, regardless of whether you leave or not. And then we'll have to double our KC from that point to get to 50 for Shellbane Veteran. And then that will just leave us with one more combat achievement, the 7th and final one, which is Featherweight Fighter, which is actually the one that keeps popping up in our chat box saying we're failing because our gear is too heavy. I will have to just teleport out and gear up specifically for that one. I guess we'll go ahead and pick up some of these rune scimitars now that we have more room in our inventory. And can't forget these feathers. Now, the Shellbane Gryphon does drop something called the Bell's Folly, which is actually a really good stab weapon for early game Ironman, or just anybody early game in general. I think it falls within the same tier as the Zombie Axe. So think of the Zombie Axe, but a stab weapon. So that's pretty cool because, well, the game has been lacking an early game stab weapon for a long time, because if you didn't have a Zami Hasta or the Fang, I mean, what other options did you really have, you know? 4 more KC. We actually got knocked back on the previous KC, and I'm not sure how. I was too busy talking and not really paying attention to the boss. Ooh, since it drops watermelons, I bet if you brought a, like, yeah, if you brought a knife, you could actually use the watermelons as food. Because while it does drop turtles, those ones are raw sea turtles. And same thing with, I thought I saw some lobsters, but no, that's actually just the sharkler. Maybe I should be picking up the sharkler as well, I don't know. I feel like sharkler is really redundant because there's the existence of minnows fishing. So I don't know how the numbers play out there, but why would I want sharkler? I don't know. That was KC number 23, so 2 more to go. And then, you know what? After we hit 25, I'm going to go ahead and TP out and go for Featherweight Fighter. Considering that the fairing is so close, it may be an option to teleport out. Perhaps that's actually what's meta. Like I said, I don't really know. I've not done Shellbane Gryphon myself until just now, so it probably is meta to TP out so that you constantly have specs to dump on Shellbane Gryphon. Because there's this downtime on the respawn anyways. Alright, we're going to be getting 2 combat achievements on this KC right here. Shellbane Adept and Shellbane Survivor. There we go. Let's pick up the feathers and anything else we can smuggle out of here. I'll take the Rune Simi. Oh, there's another one right there. Take the Canantine as well. Actually, we're out of room. All right, let me TP out here. So there are 25 KCs to go through to get to the 50 Shellbane Veteran combat achievement, and then right now we just slapped on some Graceful and resupplied ourselves to go and do the Featherweight Fighter. I really didn't put too much thought into it. I just needed to get my weight below 40, and I was like, you know what, Graceful is a clear and obvious way to do it. We are going to be taking more damage, so I did just pack my inventory up with more anglers and less prayer because we only need to get 5 KC. But this combat achievement should be no problem either. We are taking a lot more damage, but we're also still getting rid of the boss pretty quickly. That was another 30-second KC, so it should not be an issue, I don't think. Again, I didn't really, spend too much time thinking. I was like, how do I reduce my weight? Graceful, obviously. I'm sure there's some combination of gear that I actually could have worn, but you know what? This is going to get the job done, I think. Surely we don't have to TP out because we're out of food. And because we started right after we did our 25 KC, this is going to be really easy to keep track of. Not that counting up to 5 is difficult per se, but we know we're going to be done when we get to 30. Before these combat achievements were officially released, I did speculate at first that they would have, oh my goodness, that was a knockback, that they would have that classic combat achievement where you would have to use the weapon that the boss drops. And that would be one of the combat achievements because there is precedent for that at the likes of Huey or Skurrus even, which is what most people compare this boss to, where you have to use a Ratbane weapon or you have to wear Huey hide for that. But that's not the case with Shellbane Gryphon, and I realized they weren't going to do that when I actually looked at the drop rate for the Bell's Folly, which I believe is like a 1 in 400. Let me just glance over at the wiki to confirm that, but it's a much higher drop rate than say like a Scurrius Spine. So yeah, I knew that wasn't going to happen. And we're actually taking a lot of damage here. It's actually a little bit sketchy. Am I going to make it? We're chewing through our food. But as I was saying, the Bell's Folly is a 1 in 256, so not quite as high as 1 in 400, which is what I said, but that's still a lot of KC. Okay. Shellbane Gryphon has been very mean on the last 2 KCs, but that was 29, so we should be okay. And we have a Burning Claw spec available to us. I forgot to bring Death Charge again. And I actually don't know how long my Thrall hasn't been summoned for, I should say. Okay, we just need some big scythe swings here, and I have no idea what the Gryphon's max hit is, so 32 health, but it probably doesn't hit that high, right? Other than the knockback. So we're just gonna save up there. 28 on the knockback. And okay, that was actually a lot closer than I thought, but we got it done. Featherweight Fighter. All right, let's get back into our normal gear here and then do another 20 KC. All right, I've put my oath plate back on and we're heading back to the boss now. I am gonna try utilize TPing out to my POH to regenerate spec in between KCs, and we'll see if that feels any quicker. Again, there is that natural downtime in between boss KCs where we're just standing around waiting for it to respawn anyways, And surely that's a good time to just, you know, teleport out and run back anyways, right? Oh, you know what? I forgot to put the shell back on, and that's why we took so much damage right there. Gryphon feathers, this frag, I guess we'll pick up. Alright, 2 the crafting guild to pick up the shell, and then 19 more KC. Tortugan shell, or shield. I thought it was a shell this entire time. It's actually a shield. I mean, it very much is a shell though, right? Why can't it be both? Let's get our Divine Super Combat going. If we're going to be TPing out, I do wonder if the Dragon Claws would be better than the Burning Claws. Not too sure. But I'm sure it's close enough to where, or either way, the KCs are going to be quick enough to where, you know, I'm not too concerned about it, honestly. Now, I am standing around waiting for the loot because I want to stack up these Gryphon feathers. I don't know if the loot's going to disappear or not. It probably will, so. Yeah, in fact, like all the previous loot, all the 30 KCs we've done, all that loot from that was gone. So yeah, we do have to wait and see what our loot is, because you know that jar we picked up earlier? Imagine if we TP'd away from that. That would be tragic. With the remaining 18 KC to go, let's see if we can get lucky and get the collection log for the Bell's Folly. We're obviously not really going to have a use for that, but it would be nice to get. What are the high alch values on these rune claws? 7.2k? Okay, I guess I will pick those up. I left all the previous ones because I wasn't really sure what they were worth. But 7k, I guess that's worth picking up. I mean, I have the inventory space, obviously, so might as well. Okay, we are just 17 KC away from re-obtaining Grandmaster, I think. Unless we're missing a combat achievement. Let me check after this KC. But I'm pretty sure this is the last remaining thing to do. Actually, we don't have to check between KCs. Let's just take a look here. 630 out of 631. Yep. 17 KC away from the Zuck helmet once again. Really only a couple of hours since the release that we've lost Grandmaster. Considering we just massively spooned the jar, I really shouldn't expect anything else out of this, right? The Bell's Folly is a little bit more realistic because that's a 1 in 256 rather than a jar being 1 in 2000 or even the pet being in 1 in 3000. But you know what? Didn't we pick up a longbone? Am I misremembering? I could have sworn we got a longbone too, and that's a 1 in 400. I have been contemplating going on a pet hunting arc because, well, obviously at this stage of the game, there's not too many things for us to do on this account. But I don't know. If I did start a pet hunting arc, the Shellbane Gryphon one would be one of the ones that I would want the most. I said earlier that people often compare this to Scurious, and in my opinion, my experience so far, this is actually easier than Scurious. The mechanics aren't actually as complex as Scurious. At Scurious, there's actually a lot of prayer switching involved between melee, mage, and range. But right here, I'm just camping protect melee. That's just my 2 cents though, and obviously my opinion is skewed right now due to my stats and my gear. I will say though that there is a very unique mechanic here at Shellbane Gryphon. Well, there's 2, I suppose. Weight being a factor, as well as the spit, the corrosive spit or whatever, having to take off all your armor. That's pretty unique as well. I suppose the only other example of, you know, having to interact with your actual armor is at the Colosseum, the Soul Heretic fight, where you have to parry and click on a specific piece of armor that Soul Heretic's trying to grab. But yeah, these combat achievements are not an issue at all. Down in the chat box here, you can see I've been logged in for just under an hour. And I mean, obviously I've been standing around, you know, recording my clips for the video here, yapping a little bit and just wasting time. So that's not actually even a true reflection of how much time I've spent, but we're flying through these combat achievements right now without any issues. Well, because we decided to slap on Graceful for that one combat achievement earlier, that did seem a bit close for comfort, but it turned out okay. And we have just 10 more KC to go. Am I GM again yet in 10 KC? I don't know what the respawn time to the Shellbane Gryphon is. There's a small chance that me TPing out for spec is actually slower and not actually a quicker method, but I don't know. For this strategy, I don't need any food either, so with just 10 KC to go, I'm not going to think too much about it. Let's just get the job done. Now, if I was here longer, if I was going for the pet or something, I would probably actually check on that to see what is the best method in terms of speed. But like I said, I'm only here for the combat achievements, and we are 9 KC away from being done. Alright, that was our last dose of Divine Super Combat. Am I going to have to bank for another one, or will this get the job done? I think it'll get the job done. 8 more KC. Perhaps we might be unpotted on the last KC or something like that, but that's okay. Another Rune Simi. We're printing. What is the drop rate on that? Because we're absolutely printing. It is a 1 in 16, but there's 2 rolls of that. You know, whenever there's a Rune Scimitar drop, it's always kind of interesting to me personally, because obviously back in the day, as a free-to-play noob, getting a Rune Scimitar, well, that was just the absolute best in slot available to you, right? And that bad boy was worth anywhere between 25 to 30 KGP or so, and as a kid, in my mind, as a free-to-play player, that was a whole lot of GP. With just 6 more KC to go, our task still has 82. I actually don't have this task extended. There is an option to extend the task, but yeah, I didn't have that going. In fact, I don't think I have any Slayer points right now, so I couldn't even extend them if I tried or wanted to. At this point in time, I don't know if I want to finish the task or what. I'll just leave it there. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. I just got done with 99 cooking on my other account, and I didn't really think about what was going to happen beyond that. So let's just focus on the task at hand, and then we'll worry about our future plans later. 55 Gryphon feathers, that seems like a lot. Okay, looking at the wiki here, it always drops anywhere between 7 to 10 feathers, and then there's also another drop, which is 35 to 50 feathers. Oh, and earlier I was wondering what these feathers did. They are used for Hunter, for the Horn of Plenty. Okay. Well, I don't exactly have that right now, so not useful for us at this point in time, but it's stackable and good for the future when I do have a Horn of Plenty. Alright, I wondered earlier if my last dose of Divine Super Combat was going to be enough. Turns out it's not the case. Even after this KC, there's still 3 more to go, so I suppose I will bank for another dose. Did I just use all 3 of my Burning Claws without being potted there? Yes. Did I do that on purpose? Absolutely not. Also, while I do have the Thrall Book and the runes on me, I figured that if I'm only doing 1 KC and TPing out, it's probably not worth summoning. 2 more KC to go. Well, I'm very glad that this grind has... Well, I shouldn't even call it a grind, it really wasn't a grind, but this journey to re-obtain Grandmaster has not been difficult at all. In fact, it's taken us about 1 hour, and this is from somebody that has not done this boss outside of the quest. Not at all complicated. These whirlwinds that spawn under you really do not... I should say that you have more time to react to those than you would think. At first, I was one-ticking them, you know, like as if it was like acid in chambers, or I'm trying to think of another scenario where that'd be 1 tick. But in my mind, I was thinking of acid in chambers, or at a Raxor even, actually. But no, there's plenty of time to react to the wind, it seems like. And here we are, final KC. Let's go ahead and dump our Burning Claw specs. Give me some good ones, please. It was okay. Could have been much better. And we did check, this is in fact our last combat achievement. We didn't miss one. So here we go. 1 more swing. And there we have it. You've completed enough combat achievements tasks to unlock Grandmaster tier rewards. You can now claim your rewards from Lady Knock Knock. Rip my boy. Oh my god, I already forgot his name. Gommel. How could I forget Gommel? Well, let's go get our Zuck helmet back. Back to mean, but what? That is slander in the chat right now. Alright, warriors. Actually, let's head to the crafting guild first. Get our other Slayer Mask items. And, you know, luckily we didn't have to dismantle Art of Vernix, so that's still intact. But let's go ahead and grab all our Slayer Mask related items. I think that should be it. Keep our bank relatively clean. I mean, obviously, like, this bottom section of my first tab here is a mess, but you know what? The gear tab up here looks good. Let's go ahead and combine everything together. There's our Slayer helmet. And to the Warriors Guild. Rip my boy Gommel, man. Come on. I'm here to talk about combat achievements. Could I reclaim some rewards? No. I think I've completed a combat tier. I've completed all combat achievement tasks. Wait, really? Why would you doubt me? Come on. In fact, this is the second time around that I've done this. Yada, yada, yada. I just want my Zuck helm back. Can I use the Slayer helm? I forget if this is an option. Oh, yeah, it is. Can you customize it? Of course, the Zuck variant. And boom. Still got the Tortugan shield on my back, so we're looking a little goofy. But yeah, Zuck helm back in my possession. And we got the Gommel's hilt and plenty of rune scimitars.